يتسم وجود قوات التحالف الدولي في شمال شرق سوريا بالضبابية والموقف المتقلب بين الحين والآخر. ففي ظل استمرار الدعم العسكري لقوات سوريا الديمقراطية والإمدادات العسكرية المتواصلة التي ترسلها قوات التحالف، وكذلك العمليات العسكرية ضد الخلايا النائمة لتنظيم داعش الإرهابي، تارة يتحدث المسؤولون عن نية انسحاب ما تبقي من قوات التحالف الدولي من شمال شرق سوريا. في ظل هذا الموقف وكذلك في ظل التهديدات التركية المستمرة بعدوان آخر على المنطقة، وكذلك تهديدات قوات الحكومة السورية بالسيطرة على مناطق شمال وشرق سوريا التي فقدت السيطرة عليها منذ نحو عقد من الزمن، وكذلك التغلغل الإيراني في المنطقة، كيف يصف التحالف الدولي هذا الواقع أو هذا الوضع المعقد هنا في شمال شرق سوريا؟ مشاهدينا الأعزاء، نستضيف هنا المتحدث الرسمي باسم قوات التحالف الدولي العقيد واين ماروتوو، والذي يزور مناطق شمال وشرق سوريا في أول مهمة رسمية له هنا في هذا اللقاء الخاص والحصري. سيادة العقيد، نرحب بك هنا في مناطق شمال وشرق سوريا.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much.
سؤالي الأول، يعني حقيقة الأمر، ما هي طبيعة وجود قوات التحالف الدولي هنا في شمال شرق سوريا والمهمة التي يقوم بها جنود التحالف الدولي؟
So I'm the spokesman for OIR, and since 2014 we have been in Iraq and Syria at the invitation of the government of Iraq to defeat Daesh. So that's our mission. We're a combat mission, defeat Daesh in designated areas of Syria and Iraq. And I've come up here to Erbil to visit there, and I've come up here to Syria to visit with the SDF and the press up here, and I'm glad to be here. And it just goes to show the commitment that we have to the SDF and this part of Syria.
ما هي المهمة التي يقوم بها جنود التحالف الآن حاليا في شمال شرق سوريا؟
We're going to continue to defeat any Daesh remnants. Now, I know that they've been defeated territorially, and I was here 5 years ago in 2015 as the spokesman for OIR, and at that point of the war, Daesh had some 110,000 square kilometers and had like 8 million people under their control. They had victories in Raqqa, in Fallujah, Mosul, Ramadi. So things have changed since then. Now we're in a different phase of the war. And that phase is to try to bring stability and security to this part of Syria and Iraq. So we're up here in this part, we're going to try to bring stability, but we're giving time and space also to this area. We're also here to ensure that Daesh doesn't control those oil wells in this area, because previously, and when I was here in 2015, they controlled the oil wells, and they made a lot of money off of them, and they financed their terrorism with that. And we don't want that to happen this time. So we're up here to have that security and bring stability to this region.
إذن هل طبيعة هذه القوات المتواجدة هنا هي قوات قتالية أم ربما قوات استخباراتية تعمل على تعقب الخلايا النائمة لتنظيم داعش؟
Great question. So at this point of the mission, there's no combat troops from the U.S. or the coalition here. So right now, we have decided that we're going to continue to support the ISF, the Peshmerga, and the SDF with higher level advising. So advising and providing intelligence, surveillance, logistics, and air power. So with that intelligence, we find out where Daesh is at, and our air forces, coalition air force or the Iraqi air force, we do airstrikes against Daesh. And right now, it seems like the main area is in Iraq and the Diyala province. There's some areas in there of mountains and caves that Daesh is hiding out in. But we have intelligence, and we're finding out where they're at, and we're going after them.
بعض التقارير تتحدث عن وجود نحو 900 جندي من التحالف الدولي، فيما البعض الآخر يقلل العدد. ما هي حقيقة العدد، يعني العدد الحقيقي لجنود التحالف هنا على الأرض في شمال شرق سوريا؟
It's approximately 1,000. So our troop numbers, they go up and down. It depends on the conditions, and they're means tested. So in Iraq, President Trump said they're going to go down 500. So they went from 3,000 approximately down to 2,500. But the president said in Syria, they're not going down. So it's approximately 1,000. And there's no no truth to rumors about the U.S. on convoys leaving Syria. No, they're here to support the SDF and to provide stability to this region. So with us here in the coalition, it helps bring some time and space to this region and create that stability. And other entities can come in, NGOs or the international coalition, because again, for the coalition, our job is not to do anything other than defeat Daesh. But with us here providing that security and that time and space and that stability, other organizations can come in and help. And that's one of the biggest things we can do in this area, is provide that stability and that time and that space. So international organizations, NGOs can come in and help out. Because that's beyond our scope of the mission, is running detention facilities or IDP camps. We're not set up for that. We're set up to defeat Daesh, combat. And we're doing that. The ISF, the Peshmerga, the SDF is doing that continuously until there's no more Daesh.
بعد أكثر من 18 من إعلان النصر أو إنهاء تنظيم داعش على الأرض، ولكن إلى اليوم هناك تجول للخلايا النائمة، هناك عمليات للخلايا النائمة لداعش. كيف تقيمون خطر الداعش الآن بعد أكثر من 18 من إعلان النصر النهائي على الأرض على التنظيم؟
If they're here in this part of Syria, and they may be, I don't know, but if they're here, we're going to find out where they're at. SDF is going to find out. We're going to find out. Either we're going to kill them or we're going to capture them. So one Daesh guy is dangerous. Now, again, 5 years ago, 40,000 Daesh members, 110,000 square kilometers, 8 million people they controlled, a whole bunch of cities they controlled, no more, okay? With coalition support, the SDF, the Peshmerga, the ISF defeated them, and now there's pockets, and they're really an insurgency now. So they're assassinating people, they're kidnapping people, they're running drugs to try to make money. They are defeated territorially, but they are resilient. So they're tough, and we need to keep on fighting, and we're committed to that. The coalition and these 83 nations or so are committed to continue to fight in Daesh, because they're a danger not only to this area, but the whole world. And those 83 nations, they realize that they're a danger, and that's why we have this coalition to defeat them.
هل تعتقد بأن قرار الانسحاب من شمال شرق سوريا أواخر العام الماضي قد أثر على المهمة الأساسية للتحالف الدولي، والذي ما تؤكدون إلى اليوم بأن خطر داعش لا يزال قائما؟
Those troops that left, what they were doing at that phase of the war, because Daesh had been defeated territorially, what they were doing was training the ISF. But at this point, 5 years going, the ISF can train themselves. So those troops left and they went back to the States. The ISF and the Peshmerga, they're training themselves. But we still support ISF, Peshmerga, SDF with intelligence, surveillance, logistics, and that air power. All right, so it didn't hurt. It's a good news story, because that showed how successful the ISF, the Peshmerga, and the SDF were. Because all those organizations, they fought real tough battles and won. And we all should be proud of what the SDF did, what the Peshmerga did, what the ISF did. Some real tough battles. And they went out and they took it to Daesh and they won. We helped them with air power and some other things. But at this point, we can pretty much do it on their own. The ISF, the Peshmerga, SDF, running independent operations. We help them out at a higher level, but at this point, they got it, and they're doing it, and they're taking the fight to Daesh. And we'll continue helping them, because if there's Daesh remnants left, we're going to kill them or we're going to capture them.
لكن هناك تقارير تؤكد وجود عناصر من داعش وكذلك أمراء في المناطق التي انسحبت منها قوات التحالف الدولي. الدليل على ذلك هو رفع راية داعش خلال الشهر الماضي في سريكانيا، بالإضافة إلى مئات التقارير التي تؤكد وجود هؤلاء المقاتلين هناك. ألا يعتبر التحالف ذلك أهدافا مشروعا لاستهدافهم؟
Well, it is in designated parts of Syria and Iraq. No other places. So this part of Syria and Iraq, we fight Daesh. Other parts, no, we don't have that mandate to fight them anyplace else other than this part of Syria and Iraq. So in Iraq, we fight them in Iraq because we're there at the invitation of the government of Iraq. In this part of Syria, we fight them because of a UN resolution.
السكان المحليون في شمال شرق سوريا يصفون قرار الانسحاب الأمريكي في العام الماضي وإفساح المجال أمام القوات التركية بغزو منطقتي سريكانية وتل أبيض بالخيانة، كون أبناء هذه المنطقة قد قاتلوا جنبا إلى جنب مع مقاتليكم مع قواتكم، وهناك يعني الآلاف منهم من فقدوا حياتهم خلال الحرب ضد تنظيم داعش. كيف تنظرون أنتم إلى الأمر؟
So the coalition in this part of Syria, we're committed to supporting the SDF. Now, what President Trump and his policies, what they do, I can't speak on that because that's separate from our mandate in Iraq and Syria. So the president, as the commander-in-chief, he can say to his generals and his Secretary of Defense, this is what I want to do. And I don't speak for the president or the Secretary of Defense. I just speak for OIR. And I know our OIR, our mandate is to support the SDF, and we're going to continue to do that. And just like the president did just recently, he kept those numbers fairly high in Syria. So at one point they were 200, and now they're 1,000. So they go up and down. It just depends on the condition. And the president said the condition now, 1,000, we'll keep it approximately 1,000.
في حال شن تركيا لعملية عسكرية جديدة ضد قوات سوريا الديمقراطية وعلى وجه الخصوص في مناطق وجود قواتكم، ما هو موقفكم؟
I know this. We work with Turkey to deconflict what they do up here. So we talk to Turkey, we talk to the Russians, deconflict on air and the ground. So we just ask them to act professionally and don't be provocative.
في هذه الأوقات التي نتحدث فيها أنا وأنت هناك هجمات لفصائل المعارضة التابعة لتركيا وكذلك للقوات التركية على مدينة عين عيسى، بالرغم من وجود اتفاق وقف إطلاق النار بين تركيا والولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. كيف باستطاعتكم تخفيف هذا التوتر المتواجد هناك وإيقاف هذه الهجمات التركية؟
Okay, so the coalition in itself, again, that's not our mandate with Turkey. Our mandate is to defeat Daesh in Iraq and Syria. So with regards to Turkey, again, we deconflict with them on a daily basis. We talk to them about ground and air, just like the Russians. To better answer that question, I think it'd be better if you ask CENTCOM that, who's my hire, again, and they have some 26 countries air responsibility. So that's a little bit above my charter to speak about Turkey.
بالتزامن مع ذلك هناك تهديدات من قبل الحكومة السورية بالسيطرة هنا على منطقة شمال وشرق سوريا. في حال حدوث أي نوع من ذلك ما هو موقف التحالف؟
So again, our charter is to support the SDF, right? And that's what we're going to do. So we're committed to supporting the SDF.
Against ISIS or even against the Syrian regime?
Well, against ISIS, right? That's as far as I know. Now, again, if you want to talk about President Assad and this area, the bigger picture.
Talk with the CENTCOM.
Right.
أوكي. هناك العديد من معتقلي داعش هنا في مراكز الاعتقال التابعة لقوات سوريا الديمقراطية، ولكن إلى اليوم لا يوجد أي حل في الأفق بخصوص مصيرهم. هل هناك أي تطور في هذا الملف؟
I know this, that the coalition does not run the camps. The SDF runs the camps. And the detention facilities and IDP camps, that is beyond the scope of OIR. That's a very complicated subject. So again, OIR is a combat mission. Defeat Daesh in designated areas of Iraq and Syria. Now, how we help? Again, we create that stability and that time and space, and that allows NGOs and the international community to come in and help out. That's how we can help. We also support the coalition and wider organizations, support the SDF with some equipment to run those detention facilities and the IDP camps. But to take them over, again, it's not what the mandate of OIR is, because that's just, it's so complicated. You know, the judicial process and review of those detainees, because some are from other countries, and we don't have control over that. So what we want to do is create that stability and that time and that space so the international organizations can come in, non-governmental organizations can come in and help out. But OIR itself, we can't really help other than supporting them through some money. I can't remember the exact figure. It could be in the millions or billions. I know for OIR, some CTEF money, we've given like $5 billion so far. Just recently in Kurdistan, we gave from that fund like $250 million to the Kurds and equipment like Humvees and radios and other supplies that they needed. So we gave that to them. So we're trying to do the same thing up here, but to run those camps and the displacement IDP camps and detention facilities, it's just beyond our scope. Because again, we came into Iraq at the invitation of the government of Iraq to defeat Daesh. And then in this part of Syria, on the UN resolution, defeat Daesh. So again, with us here, doing stability and security, all right, that can allow those organizations to come in who are better fit, all right, to help out.
هناك بيانات رسمية من التحالف الدولي عن دعم شركات محلية تنموية هنا في المنطقة. هل هناك أي تطور في هذا الملف؟
Okay, if I think what you're talking about is recently, because like on either Twitter or Facebook, I posted some photos in this area where we tried to assist with some economic development. So we brought some people in. It was kind of like an open house where employers were there and try to help people out get employment. Now, anything else, like the U.S. Department of Defense is not involved, for example, oil. We're not involved in any kind of private companies to develop any kind of oil, the DOD. I think what you're talking about is we try to help out with small businesses and employment and to set that up recently.
حسن، السؤال الأخير هو هل تعتقد بأن الاستقرار المتواجد في منطقة شمال شرق سوريا الآن سيستمر أم إنما ربما نشهد معارك أخرى هنا؟
You know, I can't tell the future, all right? But I know right now it's better than it was 5 years ago when I was here. So today in the now, it's good. I hope it gets better. If the coalition stays around and creates that stability and that security, then the people around here can prosper and feel safe. But we have to keep on working together to do that. So again, I can't tell what's going to happen in the future, but I know in looking back 5 years ago how bad it was, it's a lot better now in the present. And I think everybody realizes that.
أتشكرك جزيل الشكر المتحدث الرسمي باسم قوات التحالف الدولي العقيد واين ماروتوو على وقتك وكذلك على الإجابة على أسئلتنا.
Thank you for having me.